questions now, and I'm just figuring out what to ask next. There's Lucinda.
There's Lucinda. It's like having a roommate in your head. It distracts you, she distracts you while other people are talking to you, and it's obnoxious, but at the same time, once she's been there for a while, she's been there for a while. And the idea of her being gone is a little bit like, I'd be a bit lonely without her. My name's Victoria Bolson. I'm from a suburb of Seattle, Washington called Auburn. I'm studying software engineering at Brigham Young University, Idaho. I love theater, and I'm in an improv group on campus. I manage the workshops, and I'm really involved in a lot of different things.
Like, play it if you have the match and you're going to play it immediately. That's the only time you can draw from there. Yeah. If none of those things apply, then you can discard and then draw one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lucinda wants to tell you to.
She agrees. She would like you to hurry. She's trying to win.
Lucinda is what I've named my tics because it's easier to talk about her than it. One of my typical tics that's sort of a reflex, it always goes back there, is meowing. It's pretty classic. I would much rather laugh at my tics, and it's so much easier when other people are laughing with me than it is if I am by myself. Because for me, it is so awkward when I'm meowing or rolling on the ground or hitting something and people are just continuing with life like it's normal. And I'm like, you cannot act like this is normal. So I really appreciate when we can stop and acknowledge it and laugh together and move on.
Full for gold.
If I have.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
Hey, I always wanted a head massage.
So does that go
There
for
we
your
go.
own cards too, if you have one that you have on top?
I remember the time when my tics were the worst. I was about as close to depression that I've ever come. And I was exhausted. I was physically exhausted because if I wasn't sleeping, I was moving. And I was mentally exhausted because I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I was having a hard time focusing on conversations, and emotionally it was hard because I couldn't connect with anybody, because as I'm telling someone about, someone telling me about a show that they saw on TV last night, I'm like, well, why do I care about what you're saying? I am broken. And every time I had a tic, that was what was going on in my head. You're broken. You're broken. I prayed a lot before I went to a camp, and I read my scriptures a lot. I felt like I really needed to focus on serving the people around me and giving to them. And that had been really hard for me because everything I was doing was I was so concerned about, it was so hard for me to focus on anything other than what was happening to my body. And so I went to this camp and I really focused on what I could do for the girls around me. And as I did that, the tics didn't change at all, but I was able to laugh at them again, and I hadn't been able to do that for a couple months. I usually talk about Tourette's with a really positive and upbeat attitude. And that's how I want to talk to people about Tourette's, because I want them to feel comfortable talking to me about it. But I also want to acknowledge that it is really difficult. That at the beginning of those phases where tics get really bad and I start collapsing or hitting, it starts out funny, and then as time goes on, it gets less and less funny, and it gets more and more frustrating, and it gets more and more tiring, and I guess I just would like people to understand that that's okay, that you can talk about things that are hard and difficult and that suck, and look at them in a way that is positive, like they're a gift. And I think that that's important whether you're spending time with someone who has Tourette's or whether you do have Tourette's or any type of tic disorder. I think that that's really important to recognize that in the dark times, they just make the light times better.